Your mind is the battlefield. Every single day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you close your eyes, a silent war is happening inside of you. It's not a war you can see, but you feel it in your doubts, in your fears, in your hesitation. Your mind constantly pulls you between who you are and who you could be. One side pushes you toward growth, purpose, and power. The other side whispers comfort, excuses, and fear. Most people lose that battle long before they even take their first step toward their dreams. Every thought that enters your mind carries energy. Some thoughts lift you higher, while others drag you deeper into insecurity and weakness. The problem is not that negative thoughts appear. They always will. The problem is when you don't recognize that your mind is trying to control you instead of you controlling it. The mind loves comfort. It seeks safety, predictability, and control. But growth, purpose, and greatness live outside of that comfort. So every time you aim higher, your mind resists. It creates stories to hold you back. Your mind tells you things like, you're not ready, you don't deserve that, or what if you fail? And if you believe it, you become trapped in a mental prison that you built with your own thoughts. The tragedy is that most people never question these thoughts. They assume their mind is always right, but it isn't. Your mind is a tool, not a master. When it's untrained, it will convince you to play small just to protect you from the pain of growth. Fear is the weapon your uncontrolled mind uses most. It doesn't come to destroy you, it comes disguised as protection. It tells you not to try because it wants to keep you safe from disappointment. But what it really does is rob you of experience, courage, and destiny. When you avoid discomfort, you avoid transformation. The same mind that could become your greatest ally becomes your greatest enemy when you allow fear to dictate your choices. Your uncontrolled mind also thrives on comparison. It constantly measures your life against someone else's timeline. It tells you that you're behind, that you're missing out, that you'll never catch up. And when you feed it those lies long enough, you stop seeing your own value. You forget that your purpose doesn't need validation. You forget that your journey is your own. Every time you compare, you weaken your focus. Every time you doubt yourself, you hand over your power. Distraction is another enemy that your mind creates. It feeds on noise, comfort, and chaos. It loves to keep you busy doing things that don't matter just to avoid the hard work of becoming who you're meant to be. The uncontrolled mind will scroll endlessly, talk endlessly, worry endlessly, anything to avoid silence, because in silence, you face yourself. In silence, you confront truth. And the truth is what your mind fears most, because truth demands change. Your mind also creates illusions about time. It tells you that you'll start tomorrow, that there's still time, that you'll take action when things feel right. But someday is not a day on the calendar. The mind uses delay as a form of self-sabotage. Every delay keeps you from your destiny. Every hesitation strengthens the chains of mental weakness. When your mind convinces you to wait, it's quietly stealing your future one excuse at a time. Most people think their circumstances are holding them back, but it's not their environment. It's their thinking. You can change jobs, cities, or relationships, but if your mindset remains the same, the results will always repeat. The battlefield never moves. It's always inside your head. Until you face that war directly, you'll continue losing to an invisible enemy that lives within you. The uncontrolled mind is a master manipulator. It doesn't need logic, it just needs permission. Once you give it space, it begins to build stories, justifications, and doubts that sound convincing. It will tell you to quit early, to settle, to give up. It will make comfort feel right and growth feel painful. It will make excuses sound reasonable and discipline sound impossible. And if you don't challenge it, you'll start believing that weakness is wisdom. Your mind is powerful beyond measure, but that power is neutral. It depends on who commands it. Left unguarded, it will attack you from within, turning your potential into frustration. Every failure, every missed opportunity, every lost dream begins first as a thought that went unchecked. The battlefield is not outside you. It's within you, and every thought is either building your future or burying it. You are not your thoughts. That's the first truth you must understand if you ever want to master yourself. Thoughts come and go. They rise, they fall. They appear without permission. They are like passing clouds in the sky of your mind. They drift in, they drift out, and they only stay when you let them. But when you begin to identify with every thought that passes through your mind, you become a prisoner of your own imagination. You begin to treat every idea, every fear, every insecurity as reality, when in truth, they are nothing more than suggestions from an undisciplined mind. Most people never stop to observe their thoughts, they react to them. A thought of fear arises and immediately their body tightens. A thought of doubt appears and they hesitate. A thought of failure enters and they quit before they even begin. The reason so many people stay stuck is not because they lack power, but because they lack awareness. Awareness is the key that separates who you truly are from what your mind tells you. The moment you can step back and simply watch your thoughts without reacting, you begin to take your power back. The human mind produces thousands of thoughts every single day. Some are empowering, some are destructive, and most are simply noise. When you don't control what you focus on, the noise becomes your master. You begin to chase every emotion that shows up, thinking it defines you. You wake up feeling lazy and call yourself unmotivated. You make a mistake and call yourself a failure. You feel fear and call yourself weak. But none of those labels are true. They are just thoughts, and thoughts only gain power when you agree with them. The problem is that people are quick to believe their negative thoughts and slow to believe their empowering ones. When the mind says, you can't, they believe it instantly. When it says, you can, they question it. The mind becomes conditioned to expect struggle, to expect defeat, because it's easier to believe in limits than in potential. But every thought is a seed, and whatever you water grows. If you water fear, it will multiply. If you water confidence, it will expand. If you water discipline, it will strengthen. The mind doesn't choose which thoughts to grow. You do. Most of your thoughts are not even your own. They were planted by other people's opinions, your past experiences, and the environment you grew up in. You were told who you are, what you can achieve, and what's possible for you. And over time, you accepted those voices as your own. That's why it feels so difficult to think differently. Your mind has been programmed by repetition, and it takes conscious effort to rewrite that code. Every time you challenge an old belief, you're reprogramming the mental patterns that once ruled your life. Your thoughts also have a tone and energy. Some lift you, some weigh you down. That's why it's crucial to become aware of your inner dialogue, the way you speak to yourself. Every time you tell yourself you're not enough, you're reinforcing that belief in your subconscious mind. Every time you say, I can handle this, you're building a new foundation of strength. The words you whisper to yourself are shaping your reality far more than the words anyone else says to you. Your self-talk determines the direction of your life because your actions always follow your dominant thoughts. When you observe your thoughts instead of reacting to them, you create distance between stimulus and response. In that space lies your power. That's where freedom lies. When anger appears, you don't have to act on it. When fear arises, you don't have to obey it. When doubt enters, you don't have to surrender to it. You can simply acknowledge the thought and let it pass. The mind may try to pull you into its storm, but your awareness keeps you steady. You begin to realize that you are the sky, vast, unshaken, and eternal, and your thoughts are just passing weather. You must also understand that the mind loves patterns. If you keep responding the same way to negative thoughts, you're strengthening that mental loop. But if you interrupt the pattern by replacing fear with faith, distraction with focus, weakness with gratitude, the loop begins to lose power. Over time, you train your mind to serve you instead of sabotage you. It stops being an enemy and becomes an instrument. The thoughts still come, but now you decide which ones deserve attention. Most people think they have to stop negative thoughts completely, but that's impossible. You can't stop the waves of the ocean, but you can learn to surf. The goal isn't to silence the mind, it's to direct it. When you become conscious of what you allow to stay, you start shaping your reality intentionally. Your thoughts will still test you, especially when you're stepping into new levels of growth. But now you know they don't define you. They are tools to be used, not masters to be obeyed. Every thought carries potential energy, but only the thoughts you focus on become real in your world. When you stop identifying with every idea your mind produces, you begin to experience real power, the power of choice. And it's through that choice that transformation begins, because you finally realize that the mind was never the enemy. The enemy was your attachment to every thought that told you who you were supposed to be. Control equals freedom. The moment you begin to take control of your thoughts, you start to experience a level of peace that no external circumstance can take away. Most people think freedom means doing whatever they want, whenever they want, but that's not freedom. That's chaos. True freedom is when your emotions don't control your actions, when fear doesn't dictate your choices, and when distractions don't pull you away from your purpose. Freedom is the reward of discipline. The person who has mastered their mind can walk through storms without being shaken because they no longer respond to the noise, they respond to vision. When you learn to control your thoughts, you begin to control your emotions. Every emotion you feel is the result of a thought you've accepted as truth. If you think you failed, you feel defeated. If you think you're behind, you feel anxious. If you think you're not enough, you feel insecure. But when you shift the thought, the emotion follows. You can't feel peace while thinking thoughts of chaos. You can't feel powerful while entertaining ideas of weakness. The emotion is not the problem, it's the thought that feeds it. Change the thought, and the feeling loses its grip. Most people allow their emotions to lead their decisions, and then they wonder why their life feels unstable. They make choices out of anger, fear, or impatience, and those choices keep them stuck in cycles of regret. When you control your emotions, you can pause before reacting. You can decide instead of being driven by impulse. That's when wisdom begins to rise. Not because you suddenly became smarter, but because you gave yourself space to think clearly. The controlled mind gives you time, and time gives you power. When your emotions are under control, your decisions start to align with your higher purpose instead of your temporary feelings. You stop chasing validation and start pursuing growth. You stop reacting to opinions and start following conviction. The world around you doesn't change, you do. People may still misunderstand you, circumstances may still challenge you, but your inner response is no longer dictated by chaos. You begin to move with intention instead of emotion. That's when clarity becomes your strength. Control doesn't mean suppression, it means direction. You're not ignoring how you feel, you're mastering how you respond. You still feel fear, but you choose courage anyway. You still feel doubt, but you choose faith anyway. You still feel pressure, but you move with focus anyway. The difference between those who rise and those who remain is not that one feels no emotion, but that one refuses to be ruled by it. Emotional control doesn't make you robotic, it makes you powerful. When your mind is disciplined, your focus sharpens. You stop wasting mental energy on things that don't build you. You start to notice how many hours people lose each day to meaningless thoughts, overthinking, worrying, replaying old mistakes. A controlled mind doesn't dwell, it decides. It redirects attention toward what matters. Focus is the foundation of productivity and peace. When your attention is disciplined, distractions lose their power because your purpose is louder than your impulses. As your decisions grow stronger, so does your destiny. Every action you take is a reflection of a thought you've chosen to believe. When you take control of your thoughts and emotions, your actions begin to align with your vision. You start to see consistency replace confusion. You no longer move based on mood, you move based on mission. And when you move with that kind of clarity, doors begin to open that used to remain locked. Life responds to the person who leads it with intention. The person who can't control their mind will always be controlled by something, fear, opinions, or pleasure. They will constantly react to what's happening instead of creating what they desire. But when you control your thinking, you reclaim your authority over life. You stop being a slave to circumstances and start becoming the architect of your reality. You begin to realize that control is not about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself so that no situation can make you abandon who you are. When you develop this kind of mastery, peace becomes your natural state. You don't chase it, you cultivate it. The same storms that used to shake you no longer break your focus because you've built strength from within. You've learned that real freedom is not found in the absence of problems, but in the presence of self-control. It's the quiet knowing that nothing external has the power to destroy what you've disciplined internally. The more control you build, the freer you become. Control equals freedom because it gives you choice. You no longer move out of habit, fear, or reaction. You move with clarity, direction, and purpose. Your emotions may rise and fall, but your decisions remain steady. Your circumstances may change, but your focus remains unshaken. And that's when you begin to understand that the highest level of freedom is not escaping the world. It's mastering yourself within it. Winning the battle within is not about defeating the world outside. It's about conquering the inner voice that tells you to stop, to give up, to settle. Every person who has ever achieved something great has had to fight this silent war. The war against self-doubt, fear, and weakness. It's the invisible fight that happens before every decision, before every breakthrough, before every transformation. The greatest victories are never announced. They happen quietly deep inside the mind where no one else can see. That's where you decide whether you'll move forward or remain the same. Every single day, the battle begins the moment you wake up. One voice says, "Stay in bed a little longer," while another whispers, "Get up and become who you're meant to be." One side pushes you toward discipline, the other pulls you toward comfort. This is not a one-time fight, it's a daily war. And if you don't prepare yourself mentally, you'll lose before the day even begins. The battlefield isn't in your circumstances, it's in your consistency. The person who wins each morning doesn't just control their time, they control their life. The battle within grows stronger whenever you aim higher. The moment you decide to improve, your old habits will resist. Your fears will return louder. Your doubts will try to convince you that change isn't worth it. That's because growth threatens comfort, and comfort is what your mind craves. It will do anything to keep you where you are, even if where you are is miserable. The mind would rather stay familiar in pain than face the unknown in purpose. That's why most people never change, not because they can't, but because they won't face the inner fight required to transform. Winning the battle within means becoming aware of those internal patterns that sabotage you. It means noticing when your mind starts making excuses, when it starts telling you that it's okay to skip the work, to delay the decision, to postpone your progress. It means standing up to your own weakness with firmness and clarity. You must become the kind of person who doesn't negotiate with the mind when it's trying to pull you backward. The mind loves negotiation because every compromise keeps you stuck. The inner battle isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. It's in those quiet moments when you say, I'll do it tomorrow. It's in the moment you doubt your own worth. It's in the moment you compare yourself to someone else and start believing that you're behind. Those are not small moments. They are turning points. Every time you give in, the weaker version of you gets stronger. Every time you resist, your discipline expands. The war inside is fought in small, unseen decisions that add up to a life either of power or regret. There will be days when the inner war feels overwhelming, when your thoughts seem too heavy to control. Those are the moments that define you. You don't grow from ease, you grow from resistance. Just like muscles strengthen under pressure, the mind grows stronger through challenge. When you push back against fear, fear begins to shrink. When you act in faith, even while feeling doubt, you begin to build unshakable confidence. The fight is hard because you're rewiring everything inside of you that once settled for less. Winning within also means confronting the parts of yourself that you've avoided. It means facing your insecurities, your failures, your guilt, and your shame, not to dwell on them, but to rise above them. Most people avoid this confrontation by keeping busy or blaming others. But the truth is, your greatest power is hidden behind the parts of yourself you refuse to face. When you stop running from them, you stop giving them power. You begin to transform from the inside out, not by avoiding pain, but by using it as fuel to rise higher. The battle within demands discipline. Discipline is the armor that protects you from your weaker self. It's what allows you to keep moving when your emotions tell you to stop. The person who wins the inner war doesn't rely on motivation. They rely on commitment. Motivation fades, commitment remains. Every time you act from commitment instead of emotion, you're training your mind to obey your purpose, not your mood. The more you practice this, the less control your old patterns have over you. There will always be resistance, even when you're growing. The difference is that now you understand it's not a sign to quit. It's a sign you're in the right place. The greater the purpose, the greater the resistance. Every new level of growth requires a new level of mental strength. The fight never disappears, you just get stronger. The mind that once controlled you becomes the mind you now command. What used to drain you becomes what develops you. The same pressure that once broke you now builds you. Winning the battle within is about reclaiming control over the thoughts, emotions, and habits that once ruled you. It's about realizing that your biggest obstacle was never outside of you. It was inside your own head. Every day you stand up to your excuses, you reclaim another piece of your power. Every time you silence doubt with discipline, you move closer to becoming the person you were meant to be. The war doesn't end, but neither does your strength. And each moment of resistance transforms you into something unshakable from within.